Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing an event recap for my newest combat robot, which is called OverDraft. It's an ant weight shuffling drop spinner, which I think is pretty cool. So if you're interested in the build on that, go ahead and check that video out on my channel. But the event that this is competing in today is the 2022 Minnesota Massacre, which was put on by a couple of the amazing Midwest Robot Combat Association builders, and the event was really great, so a huge thank you to them. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get in with the fights. So my first fight of the event was against Crixus, and this was an interesting match for a couple of reasons. That robot is extremely solid. It's a top 5 robot in the Midwest, and it has no exposed belts or anything for me to hit, so it's going to be a tough match. Right out of the gate, he's able to get right under me, and what he does is bend back the aluminum base plate that I have, and it actually was an interesting hit. I think it was a little bit lucky, but it was very interesting how the base plate actually splintered backwards like the aluminum. It was very interesting and high centered me on a little piece of the aluminum that was bent downwards. So what you can see here is I'm not really able to drive very well or at all at some points, and that's because that base plate, I actually have not suffered any damage to my drive at all. Everything's still working. It's just that base plate is blocking my shuffling pods from touching the ground. So as you can see here, I'm moving a little bit, trying to drop that weapon on him, but I'm not really able to move too well. At this point, my best hope was for him to keep hitting me and bend that piece of metal back out of the way, which eventually did happen. As you can see, he keeps hitting me, getting some nice hits, and here is kind of where my drive frees up a little bit, and I'm able to at least move. This is nowhere near full speed, but I'm able to at least show some controlled movement so I won't get counted out. I keep dropping the weapon on him, hitting that top plate, which is aluminum, so very hard to penetrate. There's nothing for me to hit that could really limit his functionality. So keeps attacking. I'm, as you can see, barely moving, and I'm firing that spinner. Keeps going. I've actually directly hit his weapon a few times, but both of our weapons are still working. And then right about here, big hit. Flips me into the pit. It was actually a really interesting hit. We kind of both went into the air together, but I went into the pit. Overall, pretty happy with that match. First fight for the robot, so I mean it could have gone worse and really showed durability of the bot. So my next fight was against One and Done, a big vertical spinner. This was in the first round of the losers bracket. His robot was kind of a speed build, and he'd been having a rough day. His frame is actually all PLA, which isn't the best idea, as you'll probably see here. So the first hit, I was able to dislodge his weapon motor. I don't think his weapon would have worked anyways. He was having problems with it, but I was able to hit him there on the top, tear up some of his wires. I kept looking over at him. He didn't want to tap out, so I was just going to keep the fight going. But at this point, his wires are hanging out. So there I was able to cut off his weapon motor, and I hit his upright, and that's why you don't want to use PLA for combat robot parts usually you don't want to use PLA. Sometimes you can, but mostly you don't want to do it. I was able to hook his weapon belt onto my arm and kind of lift him up and carry him. And at that point, they noticed exposed batteries on his robot, so they just called the fight for a knockout for me. So I was able to win my second fight of the day with OverDraft against One and Done. So that put me one spot deeper into the losers bracket against a pretty good robot that I was actually hoping to fight, and this robot is called Cookie Cutter. It's a nice vertical spinner kit robot, but heavily modified, pretty good bot. It kind of has a little hybrid drum / vertical spinner. So He actually added a really nice piece of titanium on top for this fight, so it was going to be hard to damage. Right out of the gate, I get a minor hit, but he gets under me while driving around. He added some bent down cards to get under me, which was kind of interesting. Never seen that before. Worked pretty well though. Alright, right here is what you're going to want to watch, because I'm kind of just throwing this weapon down, and right there it goes right into his spinner, and his spinner just stopped dead in its tracks. I'm not exactly sure what I did. I think I bent something, hit something in to jam it, but that one hit disabled his spinner, which was pretty cool, because that means the weapon's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So my spinner is still going strong, and now it's kind of a pushing battle for him, but I'm still able to drop that, getting some nice hits on the top and the wheels. Really hard to do anything to that top armor because it is just solid titanium, so I can't really get through it, but getting around behind him, dropping it, dropping the weapon, getting some good hits.
Trying to get out of the way of OverDraft saw blade. There was some armor right there.
It was the top plate was starting to bounce around though. He when he went to laser cut the part, he actually messed up where right there you can see the top plate just completely comes off and he taps out. So what happened was he only had 2 screws holding that in, because when he laser cut the part, he put some of the holes for the screws in the wrong place, so there was nowhere to put more screws, so he only had 2, and they eventually came out. That put me into my next fight against Most Valuable Rookie, which is a rookie robot, but don't let it fool you, because the guy that built this is a very intelligent engineer, and he built a really good robot, very powerful wedge bot. So this is a fight where I would have liked to have some wedgelet options, but I just didn't have the weight to run that in this fight, so I was going with no wedgelets, so he can get under me at will, head on. I was hoping to, well, in the future I'm going to be taking a little bit of weight out of the shuffling mechanism, hopefully, and freeing up some weight for a little bit more versatility in the armor and wedget options for the robot. So that's the plan for the future, but as of right now, he is able to get under me pretty much whenever he wants, and the way that my arm is, I'm not able to hit him when I'm up on an incline because it doesn't have a forward bend in it, which I really need in order to hit him. So I should have added that, and I will in the next version, but there'll be a little bit of a forward bend so I can hit other robots even when I'm up on their wedges. So yeah, he got some nice pins, and I did land a good amount of hits on the top of his robot throughout the fight. But like I said, some wedges would have been good. There's a good hit right there, but comes right back with a nice pin. Then the pit came open, which was obviously a little bit of a issue with a nice wedge like this, but the fight's going pretty good so far. And that arm limited motion is really killing me in this fight, because I could have been landing so many more hits than I actually ended up landing.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's the match.
And I believe that's the match. And very good fight. Probably my second favorite type of robot after walkers and shufflers is a nice, durable, and aggressive wedge, and he really executed well on that design. A very good robot, especially for his first one. And that ended up going to judge's decision, where I lost 8-9. So very close fight. I think it wasn't quite that close. He had a lot of control. So I think he deserved a win, and I was pretty happy about how that fight turned out. Alright, so I ended up being very happy with how the event went for OverDraft. I ended up going 2-2, which was actually my goal going in. And even the losses I took were good losses, I think. Not all losses are created equal, and if I can get in a loss where I still put up a good showing, that doesn't feel too bad, and I will certainly take that. Um, and losses are the fights that you really learn from, I think, and I am definitely going to be taking what I learned from these fights and putting it into the next design to hopefully make it a much better robot. I really think this robot has a ton of potential, so I'm going to keep working on it and bringing it to more events in the future. All right, that's all I have for today, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please subscribe and check out the channel, and I'll hope to see you guys later on the Midwest Robot Combat Association circuit.